Hey folks, this is Eric coming from Kansas again. So a few days ago, I posted a video about that order from the DOE, Order 202-21-1, on some DOE supposedly orders for ERCOT to possibly limit power production due to environmental concerns and power plants not being able to make emissions during cold weather, which I thought was something fishy. But at any rate, and then a few years before that, I made a video about my experience in the power plant industry, which is why I work in, and my thoughts on what was going on down there, with freezing instrumentation and natural gas lines and pressure reducing stations freezing, which is probably a lot of what happened. But anyway, I thought I'd add on a little tidbit here on what I learned today on ERCOT. So if you haven't gone to check out this outfit called National File, I'm a little partial to them because they're based out of Wichita, Kansas, my home state. But they do a lot of deep diving on quite a bit of stuff. But I encourage you to check them out, nationalfile.com. But Jack Hatfield, one of their reporters, learned that ERCOT members resigned following revelations that they lived out of state. Isn't that interesting? That's right. They got lots of ads on here. Apologize about that. But so 4 board members of ERCOT, Texas Power Grid operator have resigned following revelation that they lived out of state. ERCOT's responsible for over 26 million residents of Texas, and they obviously had a lot of issues last week with the cold weather. So a lot of people are pretty upset, not just by losing power, but being charged lots of money for the little bit of power that they get. So yeah, blackouts. Sally Talberg and Chairwoman Sally Talberg and recently elected Vice Chair Peter Crampton didn't even live in state. So board members said they had noted concerns about out-of-state leadership to allow state leaders a free hand with future direction to eliminate distractions. The 4 members will be resigning from the board effective after our urgent board teleconference meeting adjourns on Wednesday. That was which is today, and I got some more information on that. So acknowledge pain and suffering, blah blah blah. Greg Abbott obviously mentioned their total failure. This and that. Looks like that was maybe a Twitter post or something. It's called the Resignations, a good and necessary step. So anyway, very interesting. If you haven't checked out National File, they got a email subscription you can sign up to and get some regular updates on the news they post. So anyway, so there's that, and then there's also. So I went to ERCOT's website here. This is their homepage, Electric Reliability Council of Texas. You can see what their demand and capacity is right now, which is they're back in where they want to be, obviously, which is good. But so they have some links on here on meeting calendars, and they have an urgent board directors meeting, which was today. So I clicked on that, and so I'll do that here. And this pops up with some agenda items, and then they have some key documents. So if you go to this presentation, this has got a lot of good information in it. So it's a nice little PowerPoint that somebody put together. It's got a lot of, introductory mumbo jumbo here in the beginning. What ERCOT is, what it fulfills, what it does not do. I find it interesting that they say they don't have any enforcement authority over electric generation facilities or any transmission. But that's kind of odd in that I think they're supposed to divvy out generation or make sure it's all line there. The frequency is and voltages are kept in line with where they want to be. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting that they should have some authority to do that, or you'd think they would. At any rate, further on down, they talk about general costs to the customer for ERCOT and whatnot. Here's an interesting slide. We got their generation mix. And so I wanted to show this to you and compare it to where I'm at, which is run by the Southwest Power Pool, which is most of the other Midwestern states all the way up to North Dakota. So this is just ERCOT here. So look at the gas and coal. Gas is almost 50% of their production, and I'll talk about that in a second. Kind of following up on a video I made about a week ago. Coal is down, is right at 12.5%. Nuclear is just under 5%. Wind is almost at 30%. Solar is at 6%. And keep in mind, these are all rated capacities. These are not, what they put out at any one time. This is just their rated capacity. And obviously, wind doesn't blow all the time. So, these percentages varies based on how the sun's shining, how the wind's blowing, and their appetite for this different fuel mix here on the more conventional side. They got so many miles of transmission, 26 million Texans, so on and so forth. Let me go over to a Southwest Power Pool and let's see a mix there. Southwest Power Pool, this is the Southwest Power Pool's website, SPP.org. They serve 14 states, or they communicate with 14 states, and they're listed here, including my home state, Kansas. So they have, so many square miles, substations, plants, this and that. Their generating capacity is just under ERCOT's at 90. I think ERCOT's is just over 100,000 megawatts. But generation mix here is generation capacity. This is nameplate. Energy production by fuel time. So they have a capacity rating, but then they have a production. So it looks like this is what they're currently choosing to run based on probably fuel prices or availability or something like that. But this is their nameplate. So we still have a bunch of gas. But we have more than double the coal nameplate rating, almost the same amount of wind, and then has some hydro and nuclear and so on and so forth. So I wanted to point out the coal. Here's how much we're producing per coal recently, and here's their rating. These natural gas and coal numbers used to be swapped. At least up here anyway, quite a bit 10-20 years ago, which is unfortunate from my point of view. Only because, for one, the U.S. has 1/4 of the world's coal reserves. So, coal plants that have been built in the last, 10 to 20 years are a lot cleaner. The vast majority of the stuff that comes out of the stack now is just nitrogen, water vapor, and CO2, which CO2 is not a pollutant. Thank you very much. Actually, the Earth could use about 500 ppm more of CO2. That'd actually increase plant yield and growth throughout the world, but nobody really wants to talk about that. At any rate, these used to be switched, and I'm maybe a little biased. I worked a lot with coal, done combustion calculations, I've done boiler performance testing, all sorts of stuff with coal plants and other conventional generation. But doing that, I've learned a lot about that. And just on the other side of things, I do have some videos here that I've been posting also there on solar. because I have been playing around with solar for the last 10 plus years, because it's fun. It's nice to generate your own power, and it's an easy way to do that instead of burning a fuel. So I know about both sides of the coin, just for that clarification. But anyway, the one big thing that I think Texas may have learned from this recent spell is that, and even with Southwest Power Pool, they had to cut back on gas generation, and that's because obviously people want to use natural gas to heat their homes too. And if you are either having your gas supply cut off, or it's off because your pressure reducing stations are frozen, because that's what happens when you reduce the pressure of a compressible gas, is it can freeze up if there's any amount of moisture in there. So basically your gas supply can be shut off at any point in time immediately, without any warning. Coal, assuming you can survive the freezing or cold temperatures, at least back in the day, 5, 10, 20 years ago, these coal plants used to have 30 to 60 day fuel supply. So if your fuel supply was shut off, your train stopped running, well, you still could run for a while, which is nice. And it's kind of like being a prepper. So anyway, thought I'd mention that little tidbit there that a lot of people don't realize or don't think about on coal plants, and the unfortunate drawback of or unintended consequence of trying to get rid of them. So anyway, back to ERCOT. Let's go back to that PowerPoint. So anyway, yeah, less than 30% of coal. And unfortunately, one of the coal plants that I was the lead boiler performance test engineer for, found this article on Yahoo Finance. The Sandy Creek Power Plant, one of the last coal plants to be commissioned in the U.S. actually in 2013, actually went offline at 1:56 a.m. It said. I was down there in 2013 when they commissioned it. That was a bittersweet ending. One of the last ones I got to be at to test that. But anyway, so that went offline, and later on down this presentation, they have the frequency dip that happened on, I think it was the 15th or the 16th. Right, well, I think I missed it. Here it is. Let's see. Now, it doesn't say the date. 14th through 19th. Okay, this must have been the evening of the 14th. So yeah, that Sandy Creek power plant went offline right here, right at the worst possible time. But anyway, that was kind of an interesting tidbit there. But yeah, this presentation has all sorts of interesting tidbits on what happened. I would encourage you to look through it. I'll try and provide a link here on the video notes. But again, you can just go to the ERCOT website and find it pretty quickly. So yeah, records freezing temperatures. Half of their generation was forced offline, apparently. Now, with that DOE order that I read the other day, I have some reservations about it. It was forced off. We'll see what happens there. But at any rate, they had to do a lot of load shedding, which means they had to shut people's power off, basically. So yeah, they have a great timeline here of some of the events, the frequency dip here and what was going on there on 14th and 15th, and then capacity out 14th to the 19th, capacity out by fuel type. So check this out. Natural gas megawatts that were offline, that they, I'm sure, needed. Again, remember, almost 50% of their generation nameplate mix is natural gas generation. Texas used to be really heavy in coal, and they have a big lignite reserve there too. in Texas that I'm sure they could use more of, but they're not now, apparently. But yeah, look at the gas generation that they lost. I went from about 11,000 all the way up to 26,000. So they lost 15,000 megawatts of gas in a matter of hours on the 15th on that Monday last week. Just not good. Not a good deal to rely so heavily on one fuel mix, and this is what you get. So I don't know if they'll learn their lesson or not, but that's what happened. And you can see coal down here in the black. They lost some stuff there, but not near as much as gas, obviously. And then the blue is the wind. You can see the wind didn't go off like they said as well. So, and here's a graph showing that the load that they were providing and the load that they were short on in the dotted line here. So lots of interesting things here. Here's some key events. So wanted to share this with you. Again, I don't know how much of this is them trying to say it's just because of the weather, or it's from somebody high up in the DOE telling them to do some shenanigans too. But we shall see what happens, because 4 folks from ERCOT resigning that actually lived out of state, something just seems a little fishy there. So yep, and they did some comparisons here in 2011 versus 2021 cold weather events too, which is kind of interesting to look at. So if you like charts and graphs and numbers, this is for you. If you don't, you can just look at this and be on your merry way. One more interesting thing is here's the prices of the electricity that they saw at some points in time. So dollars per megawatt hour here is on the y-axis, the time is on the x, and yeah, normally wholesale electricity is, I'm used to seeing about $40 per megawatt hour, 40 to 50, maybe a little bit less than that. Look at that, 6,000. Oh my goodness, I saw like 1,000 or a few thousand, but $6,000, and shoot, there's 9,000 on this graph actually. Not sure what the 2 different colors are. It doesn't. Somebody forgot to put that on there. Any rate, that is just ridiculous, folks. Just ridiculous. That's why people's electric bills are so high. I'm sure lots of people are not going to pay those, and they're going to sue the wazoo out of ERCOT. But at any rate, very interesting. So feel free to peruse that at your own pace if you want later on. But I want to share that with you. And if you have any questions for me or other comments to make, feel free. Yeah, there you go. What happens when you don't have a good mix of fuel anymore when these types of events happen. So signing off. Bye for now.